Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. Wow, wow, wow. What a performance by the Iowa Hawkeyes. I know it's been tough sledding to find things to be positive about now that Iowa can no longer make it to a college football playoff. But I did drop a video earlier today putting forth my reasons of optimism. Number one being Brendan Sullivan, seeing what he's capable of, seeing what this Iowa offense is capable of. And number two, just seeing how Iowa can finish probably post Michigan State game for the year. Obviously, hopefully they can get to the 9-win mark. And that is the paramount goal, is finishing as strongly as they can. To me, anything less than 9 wins would be a tragic letdown if you take into consideration just how talented this team is. I mean, this team is going to have, we're going to look back at this team and see so many draft picks from this Iowa Hawkeye roster. It's ridiculous. And then you take into account Kaleb Johnson. And so, even a game like this in which Iowa dominates Wisconsin, I can't help it but kind of, on one hand, I'm extremely optimistic, and I want to be optimistic. I want Iowa fans to be optimistic, but on the other hand, it's like, dang, what could have been? Like, look at how talented this team was. And when I did one of the game previews, I think it was literally this past week, I finally noticed, I'm like, if you look at Iowa's schedule, literally every single game that they have won, they have dominated. Like, it has been shellackings of every team that they have beat. And then, of course, they lost the close one to Iowa State. Um, I would say they got beat by Michigan State fairly. Not, I wouldn't say handily, but Michigan State definitely won that football game. I would say convincingly. Um, and then, of course, Ohio State, but that game was close up until halftime, and then Iowa let down in the second half. So what I'm getting at when I discuss that is that this Iowa team is, in my estimation, better than their record indicates. And I think that that's going to play itself out, that their record is going to be closer to what they really are rather than moving away from it in a negative light. If you look at the SP Plus ratings and the ESPN Football Power Index, both those ratings have Iowa as a top 25 team. That is what the computer analytics say about Iowa. SP Plus has Iowa ranked 16th, I believe, and they definitely won't go down after this performance. So, it's tough. It's kind of a bittersweet thing when you see Iowa's performance like they did tonight against Wisconsin. Um, I want to show you guys the Iowa versus Wisconsin series because I saw a post that I really liked, which is basically that post Ricky Stanzi, 2010 to 2020, 2019, Wisconsin absolutely dominated the Iowa Hawkeyes. And it was there was like a big play that happened that led Wisconsin to winning that game. I can't remember what the tweet said. Um, it was either a come from behind victory or like them getting it on fourth and one. It was something miraculous um, that led to that victory. And then Wisconsin, especially under Paul Chryst, just dominated Iowa. As far as the wins loss, the games were always close, but and outside of the CJ Beathard year, Wisconsin really did in 2015. Wisconsin really did own that series. And now here we are, I would say from 2020 onward, as you guys can see here, this is from Winspedia. Iowa has had the upper hand vis-a-vis the Amir Smith Marset flipping to the end zone touchdown that he had. You had the Cooper DeJean, aka Cooper DeJean, pick six touchdown that he alluded to. Because, yeah, see, 2010, it was the game in 2010, 31-30. I'd have to go back and see what the miraculous play was that led to Wisconsin winning that game. And they really dominated outside of the 2015 game. And now Iowa has won three straight games over Wisconsin, and they have won four of the last five contests, which is awesome. All right, guys, let's take a look at the stats here for this game. I did do a video before this game aired this morning, just detailing why Iowa fans should be optimistic about this Iowa team, and or reasons for optimism. And really it's two reasons. Number one, well, not reasons, but things to watch for. Number one is definitely Brendan Sullivan, and then number two was just to see if Iowa could finish this year as strongly as possible. And when you see a performance like this, it is truly bittersweet, because it's like, man, what could have been. Like, I know we're going to look back and we're going to see just how many NFL draft picks this Iowa team had, and we're going to say, dang, this team was loaded, just like in 2010 Iowa football. And we're going to look back at the wins and the losses, and as I alluded to at the beginning of this video, we're going to see that Iowa's all their wins were just dominant performances, just beating the brakes off of teams. And they were so close. A decision here, a decision there. To me, realistically, the quarterback position. That's why I was always for Brendan Sullivan being the Iowa starter. Now, I don't know how much of a difference it would have played in the Michigan State game. I think against Ohio State still probably would have won, but perhaps it would have been a lot closer, and especially in the second half had Brendan Sullivan been in there. And then I really do think Iowa would have defeated Iowa State. And so it's just, I know we're going to look back and we're going to say, oh, man, we had this once in a generation running back and Kaleb Johnson, a possible Doak Walker Award winner. And it's just like, man, so while there are reasons for optimism, when I see scores like this, while obviously it's much better than the alternative, it really is a bittersweet thing, because it reminds me at the same time of what this team really could have been this year, and truly what they were capable of this year. So anyways, let's delve in to the stats here. 42-10, the Iowa Hawkeyes win, and just a really balanced performance. Outside of the first quarter, Iowa scored 14 points in each quarter thereon. Just really balanced, getting it done. It's really hard to defeat a team when you're having this sort of success quarter to quarter, putting 10 plus points on the board each quarter. Iowa's front just dominated on both sides of the football. They dominated. I would say more so the offensive line, but this is why Wisconsin was so dominant in the Paul Chryst years, because they were dominant up front. They, on the defensive line and the offensive line, they just continuously had guys that were going to the NFL, and they were dominant. And I really believe that Kirk Ferentz has made and his team has made a concerted effort to become deeper and more talented on the front lines, the defensive and offensive line. Now, the offensive line has been hit or miss, but the defensive line has been really stellar consistently, and that is all Kelvin Bell. He's recruited that position really well. He's gotten a ton of talent at the position. Just this past recruiting class, he had multiple four-star guys on the defensive line. You have Lucas Van Ness going in the first round. Just a ton of talent. And then, of course, they're still developing under the radar talent like an Ethan Herkett. Max Llewellyn, it's good to see him. He was a part of the vaunted top 25 recruiting class in, I think it was the 2021 or 2022 recruiting class. It had Max Llewellyn, Griffin Little. Um, let's see. Anyways, and he was a four-star guy. That was one of the best in-state recruiting years for the state of Iowa in a long time. I mean, Arland Bruce, Keegan Johnson. I mean, just really, really talented. Brody Brecht. Now, that class has not necessarily lived up to the rating that they had per se, but they haven't done poorly either. I do just want to pull it up just as a side note here, just a trip down memory lane. Yeah, he had a grade of a 91 and was the sixth best player in the state of Iowa. It was the 2021 Iowa recruiting class, and they did indeed finish top 20 post COVID COOF year, so it really did help them. Composite 24th. How they finished composite 24th, and well, actually, composite is the high school rating. Overall is the high school and transfer portal. But of course, David Koff got injured. He retired from football. Connor Colby's had a good year. Cooper DeJean, obviously, really good career. Max Llewellyn is coming on. We'll see what happens with Joey Labus. Keegan Johnson went to Kansas State. Bo Stevens is having a solid year, although he's been injured. Arlen Bruce, of course, started decently strong, and Justice Sullivan, medical redshirt. Griffin Little, I don't think is playing football anymore. I think he also retired. Um, Iowa football, spring ball. He might still be on the roster. I'd have to see. But that's not what this video is about. Jennings Dunker, of course, is doing good. Jeremiah Pittman is doing good. Brody Brecht went baseball. So, did this class, Devin Hilson ended up retiring from football. Did this class end up being, you know, the best Iowa recruiting class ever? No, but it still was a strong recruiting class, and there are potentially multiple guys here that will end up being drafted in the NFL. So, but just bringing this back, Iowa, that is the main thing. Iowa did their best to bolster the offensive and defensive line, and they have been very successful bolstering the defensive line, and it has paid dividends. And this year, along the offensive line, it also is coming together, and Iowa just dominated. They really did. It was crazy how well Iowa was doing, carving up space. Braden Locke, Iowa held him to 137 yards, 15 to 29, one touchdown, two INTs. Jamari Harris, unfortunately, got worked in that series. He had broken coverage on a long, I think it was a third down gainer. Iowa, had stuffed it the first two, and then he gets jammed up, and as the announcer said, he must have thought that somebody else was going to pick up the receiver. He was wide open. He started on Jamari Harris's side, and then for the touchdown, Jamari Harris got spun around, and it was corner of the end zone touchdown. No 100-yard rushers for Wisconsin, which is good as far as Iowa goes. So, Brendan Sullivan, he didn't have a spectacular night, but he didn't need to. Brendan Sullivan, to me, and I've said this to you guys, I don't expect him to be an elite quarterback. All we need him to do is to be serviceable throwing the ball, which he was 7 of 10. I mean, obviously, only throwing 10 passes is nothing crazy, but they didn't need any more from him because the threat of his running ability is so present. He had 58 yards rushing. When is the last time an Iowa quarterback has had more than 25 yards rushing? When is the last time that has happened? Most of the time, an Iowa quarterback over the last 4 or 5 years, Spencer Petras, Deacon Hill, Cade McNamara, are in the negative or the 2 or 3 plus 2-3 yards, if that. His appearance out there really does put defenses on their heels, and not just him being out there, but his actual play. It puts the defense on their heels. And I love the play calling from Tim Lester, really um, using the RPO to stunt the defense and make them pause for a second because when you have somebody as dynamic as Kaleb Johnson, and then you also have Brendan Sullivan who could scamper off for nice gainers, it's very hard to defend if the offense does it properly. And there was a play where Brendan Sullivan took it out wide. He did a juke cut on the inside, almost fell down, went for a first down carry, and it was just huge. So Brendan Sullivan, it was just awesome to see because we have not seen that in a long time from an Iowa quarterback. So Brendan Sullivan, we don't need him to be spectacular. He just needs to be serviceable running or throwing the ball, and he needs to be able to make the occasional play with his feet, not make mistakes, and that will be good enough for now. Going into next year, obviously, hopefully, Iowa is able and Tim Lester is able to develop him more as a passer. But for now, this is what we need. Kaleb Johnson had and by the way, he had one touchdown. Kaleb Johnson, magnificent game, 24 carries, 135 yards, 5.6 per carry, three touchdowns. Kamari Moulton, 9 for 74. Brendan Sullivan, 9 for 58. Josiah Patterson, 10 for 56. I saw somebody tweet out that Kamari and Josiah are really talented running backs. It's just Kaleb Johnson is so good that they really get overshadowed. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're capable of next year if Kaleb Johnson does indeed decide to head off to the NFL. They had great games too. Zach Ortworth came on strong, three catches for 66 yards. Jacob Gill, 2 for 23. Jarriett Bowie, 1 for 6. I believe Reese Vanderzee was injured. I don't think he was on the depth chart. So hopefully he's able to get back out there and continue his development as a wide receiver. Um, I just the only small criticism that I have is I would love to see Iowa try to get the ball to Luke Lachey more. Ultimately they still got it to their tight end multiple times, Zach Ortworth, and he had 66 yards, which is great. But I would really like to see Luke Lachey. At this point, the type of season Luke Lachey's having, I don't think unless he has like a really excellent combine or pro day, I don't think he is going to be drafted as one of the top tight ends. But he might be, like around 5 or 6 tight end. We'll have to see. Caden Wetchin, 1 for 23. Reese Dakin had a magnificent day, 53.3 yards a punt. Drew Stevens, unfortunately, was 0 for 1 on his field goal. I don't know what his attempt was, how far away it was. So it looks like he missed from 50 yards out, 0 of 150 plus. I mean, even at this stage in his career, he doesn't have the biggest leg. His longs have been at from 51, 53, 54. But he still is having a solid year. I mean, he's at 84%. He's 11 of 13. He's pretty money 49 yards in. It's the 50 plus that is, hopefully he's able to put it all together in his senior year and potentially become an NFL caliber kicker. It's crazy. Iowa kickers either have like Marshall Kane, super super big legs, but they're not the best in the intermediate to short range, or they are money in that range, but they're not good in the long field goals. So I think, 50 plus, he needs to shoot for at least being a 50% kicker, if not more from that range. His range really should consistently be 55 yards in if that's where he can get it to. So, anyways, guys, that is pretty much it for this game. I mean, not much more to say about it. Like I said, Minnesota defeated Illinois. Nebraska did lose to UCLA, which Iowa plays next week. I might go to that game as it is in California. We shall see. This was a great game to see. I'm just not, I'm just not surprised, guys. Like I know how talented this Iowa team is. And this is what I expected from the beginning of the year. Uh, and so when Iowa has performances like this, it's more affirmation. To me, their losses have been the anomalies this year. So I'm just pulling up the Big Ten scores here. Oregon defeated Michigan. Ohio State defeated Penn State for Penn State's first loss of the year. The vaunted victory over Michigan or Ohio State continues to elude Penn State and James Franklin. Indiana shellacked Michigan State 47-10. Minnesota defeated 24th ranked Illinois 25-17. Northwestern did defeat Purdue. And then, of course, UCLA defeated Nebraska 27-20. UCLA made that much closer than it needed to be towards the end. And how about USC? Man, is Lincoln Riley going to be fired? That is crazy. Remember, I just know because I live on the West Coast, everybody thought that the Lincoln Riley hire was just going to be this amazing hire, slam dunk, you know. It's and he might be gone. I mean, he may not be long for Southern California. Washington 26-21 over USC, and they improved to 5-4. So just to wrap this up, if you look at the victories that Iowa has had, they've been pretty solid. The only bad loss that they have is the Michigan State loss, but they defeated an above 500 Washington team who sits at 3-3 in the Big Ten and 5-4 overall. They defeated Northwestern, who is 4-5, 2-4 in the Big Ten. They defeated Minnesota, who is 4-2, 6-3 overall. And they defeated Wisconsin, who is 3-3 and 5-4 overall. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. What a great performance. It was great to see Brendan Sullivan get his first career start for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I can't wait to see how this Iowa offense continues to evolve with him under center. It really opens things up. I'm just really looking to see if we can eventually get that complete offensive performance where we get, the wide receivers involved. They continue to develop. We have a strong run game. It's just really difficult to expect that because of how good Iowa's run game has been this year. And so ultimately, it doesn't matter to me as long as Iowa scores points. I'm okay. I don't care how they score it. As long as they score points, I'm okay. And for me, all I need Brendan Sullivan to be is a guy that is a positive out there and opens things up for the rest of what the offense is trying to do rather than hindering it, rather than being just a body, if not a negative out there on the field, which is what a lot of Iowa quarterbacks have been. They've either just been a body that's there because Iowa needs somebody there, or they've been a negative because they can't run, they can't escape, they can't do things off script. So it's going to be good to see that here moving forward. All right, guys, I will see you guys next time. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. And thank you guys so much for watching. Let's get this channel to 2,000 subscribers. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and facts our feelings because your feelings just don't matter. I love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.